You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Good morning, Althea.
Good morning, Christopher.
So what are we going to talk about? I don't even know. What's new? What's new with you?
What's going on in the community?
What's going on with our community?
It's so much is happening, but thank you again for inviting me to sit down with you. Because you know it's reversed now. Because I know I interviewed you first, right?
I got to ask you all kinds of tough questions. No, I'm not.
But you could. I mean, you know.
For me, this is fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy having various people on here that I think I can learn from. So
I've learned a lot from you just this morning alone.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the conversation before the conversation
Absolutely.
was amazing.
So I like to have anybody that I think can teach me something, and I kind of poke them, and then so I get to have these really cool conversations with lots of different people. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of selfish, but also other people get to watch them later too.
Well, I'm honored because I'm thinking, what in the world are we going to talk about? What can I offer? What can I, have to say? But
you have a media empire. No, you have a media voice, our voice, right? Like you are plugged into who you're plugged into. Mm-hmm. That's valuable, right? Like, what is the pulse of the community? I'm sure anybody running for a seat for the August vote would like
to sit down
to hear, how do people feel that you're talking to? That's valuable.
Right. And one thing, the reason, and I have to talk about my partner too, who has been, I started with, and continue to be with that. We really want to give the community a voice. We really want to connect the community to what's really going on, so that their voice will be heard, and also that they can hear and understand, and not be left behind. That's the thing, is the community not being left behind with what's going on in our community. So, and that's a lot of what we do with events or conversations.
So what's going on?
A lot.
Tell me.
Well, right now, just talking about the housing, situation, the growth of this beautiful community of Stewart, of Martin County, which is not only Stewart, but the whole county, because growing up here, you didn't realize what you had until you're seeing it leave, in a sense. We have a beautiful place here in Martin County, a beautiful place. And I really want the community to understand what we have in our hands and appreciate it, and not be disconnected from it. Be able to come downtown Stewart and enjoy what's here. Not be sheltered, not be in a box, but enjoy the whole community. Because it's a beautiful place here.
How would you articulate what we've had historically, what's valuable about where we live and who lives here, as not to lose it, right? Like, if you don't know what's valuable, it's easy to accidentally erase it if you don't articulate it. So what would you say is the uniqueness, the character, the value?
The value that we have is that because...
So that we don't lose it, Because
at one point, everyone knew everyone. We knew your family may know my family, the Wileys, or, the Dixons, or the Mackeys, or, they know because we all grew up and went to school together. Mm-hmm. Now we don't even know who's who in the community anymore, and there wasn't, I feel, there wasn't that division. There wasn't that cultural division. There wasn't that racial, in some parts, that division there, because my parents knew your parents knew my grandparents. So we're losing that, but at the same time, if we can look at, I'm going to say this here.
Yeah, speak freely.
I think of. I've had a chance to visit different places, maybe just ride through. But one thing I've noticed that you can tell how a community is the upkeep of it. Mm-hmm. We in Martin County, this community is very well kept. meaning we have a leadership that takes care of the roadways. I'm just going broad here. Takes care of the roadways, takes care of the buildings. We're not in a slum type of place. That's important to me because you can tell how the governmental entities or whatever really care about how they live. So we as a culture get to be a part of that. That's important. You
got to be careful.
I'm trying to.
Because Brian Mass got in trouble for talking about Fort Pierce. So I'm just messing with you.
Don't throw me under the bus, because I'm trying to be respectful.
I know that's not what you're saying.
No, but Martin County, it is a unique place. People pay millions and trillions of dollars just to come and live here. But we have the opportunity that live here to be a part of it. We have that in our hands.
Mm-hmm.
We get a chance to walk the streets. We get a chance to feel safe, and it is, to me, one of the safest places to live. I really.
I don't know the stats, but you've got to be right.
Yeah,
we don't have the kind of crime or
we don't, and
maybe car accidents, but that's it.
I have to say hats off to the chief and to the sheriff. We've come a long way, building a relationship. But Martin County is really a safe place. When I couldn't understand, when you get off that exit, you better make sure you're coming to take care of business and not take business. And to have the type of relationship that we've built with the sheriff department and the chief is really it is amazing. And it took a while, but it's there, and I appreciate that.
It's painful when you get in trouble.
In Martin County, it's very painful.
It's painful when it is,
as a culture,
when that bites you. But I said it in the last episode I did, was I always knew in high school, be really careful the car that you get in, because that could be the end of your life.
This is true.
Not like you could die, right? You could be in a really wrong situation, but even if there's something in that car and you get associated with it, that's on your record, and now forever you're going to get pulled over.
That is true, and
that
is true. I mean,
and that was it's a healthy fear, like that keeps a lot of riffraff out of our area and does protect it, And I said, unfortunately, half of our kids moved to Colorado.
But now we have our moments here in Martin County with the system. Now, I'm not gonna, we're not getting deeper into that, but
go deep. Be honest. Be real.
As a culture, we've had our issues. We've had our issue. But I believe that now we're able to talk about them, and really voice how we feel. Some things have not been right. I can't go into, the details of them, but, you feel like you are the outcast when it comes to the judicial system here. You feel like you're the ones that, why are they doing this to us? But we're getting better, getting a little better. We still have a ways to go with the court systems here. We really do. But I believe now that we can talk about it. We have to continue to talk about it, continue to let the court systems know that, it's enough of being put through the system the way we have been as a race. And I'm trying to be nice.
It does seem like
trying to be nice.
It does seem like with the way the system is set up, is it's so monolithic. It's such a well-oiled machine that as soon as you get on the wrong side of that, there's almost regardless of race, I can't speak to that. But just people that I know that have gotten into that system, as soon as you are perceived as a criminal or the person who is wrong, the system really, you're done. It's like your life is over. It's really hard to and I don't have an answer for what you do, but it seems like there needs to be some revision in that with that machine to where it's not so, and basically unless you're rich, you can't navigate through that unless you can pay for really high powered lawyers that know everybody. You're kind of trapped.
And or someone that's not afraid of an attorney that's not afraid of the system here in Martin County. I mean, you know, I gave them the props, but at the same time, as an African American, we have to know and understand we live in a good old boy community at the same time. So, you know, and we are very mindful of that. We're very mindful of that. So, where I said that everybody knew everybody, at the same time, I feel, and I often say that.
Do you think it's a white-black thing?
The system, yeah.
Because, like, I don't.
Yeah, I do.
I'm white, but, like, I'm not in the club. I don't know anybody. So I feel like if I got it, and I'm a commissioner, but I feel like if I got in trouble, I don't have a rich uncle who's connected, or I'm not.
You're going to go there.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that there is more to it than I'm aware of.
Yeah.
But I'm not in the club, right? Like, I don't see it as purely, at least, white and black. I see it at least in part as, like, power and friendships and hookups and whose kids go to what school together and, like, who that there is kind of that unspoken. I don't even know that it's exactly rich poor, but it's like the fraternity or something. It's like the people that are. It is. I will say I don't believe that the justice system is equally administered, and no in particular judge or officer or anything. But that, like I said, if you're rich, you're probably going to have a better shot at getting off because you can afford better lawyers. At least, you know, there is injustice in that sense for sure.
It is, and there's a young man, and his name is Christopher too. That he's local here in Martin County. That he was a professional. I know he's not going to mind me talking about professional baseball player. You know, and life happens, and he ended up getting on drugs, ended up going to, you know, through the courts and everything. And then there was this young black guy who basically the same charges and everything, but at the same time, he's still in prison. You know, he's sentenced to a higher punishment. And Chris is also an advocate for him now in talking about that in Martin County. Now he's out now. He's making he's building manufacturers' homes over there. And he talks about how hard it is because of his background, because he's been a felon. But at the same time, he's given the opportunity. But how many young black men, and I don't want to even get emotional talking about this, how many black men that has gone through the system and has come out and changed their life, but they can't even get a job here. Because
they have a record?
They have a record. Yeah. They can't get the job, and sometimes they are targeted. They can be driving in a car, and it's like, oh, you know that you are so and so, that somebody's with them, and you are so and so, and you're hanging around them. I mean, it's an I don't want to.
Yeah, once you have a record, you have a scarlet letter.
As an African American, you're scarred. You're scarred here. That can be one of the disadvantages of being here. You're scarred. You don't have the same opportunity.
I was happy to see recently what came in front of us is that formerly the Gary property that the city bought, that they're going to set up a school there. We got a grant.
Who's going to set up a school there?
The city, but Project Lift is going to run it. We got a grant to rebuild that building there, and it's going to function as like a incubator for trade. So like industrial, we just got presented the other day, but industrial, like welding, and that was one of those conversations is like, you know, even with a record potentially, you can have young men and women coming in and it's kind of a pipeline into a job. So you're learning skills and then you'll be available.
What will be they have a record. What will be, I guess, the criteria? What type of record?
Know.
Because
I don't know. I'm sure there's like lines for what's not okay.
Yeah, and that is true. And one thing that I've hear a lot from the community about, because let's take for the Civic Center now, the 10th Street Community Center. A lot of complaints have been because that used to be where the community can go and hang out and have their time there. And now, if you have a record, you can't even go in there. You can't even be a part of a place that you grew up with. And I know that's an issue that a lot of the community talks about.
The rec center, you said?
The rec center, yeah. Because that was the Civic Center. That was the place where...
I've heard that repeatedly, and I agree. I think that the rec center should be opened up for the public. Right now, it's kind of locked up and tied up, with staff or, with basically what will be the function of the Boys and Girls Club when it's done, with the kids. But why is it not available for people to come in and rent or borrow or just hang out?
Well, they can come in and rent, but as far
but
as
the hours are tight.
Yeah, the hours are tight
because of how it's used.
Right. So, but yeah, it's a lot. Whew. I didn't know we was going to go that route, but at the same time,
I think
okay.
I think any honest conversation is important, right? So, and the more one human being is talking to another human being about how they perceive the world, the better, right? I want to understand your perspective. You're hearing mine and understanding mine, and especially if anybody has authority to change something in the city.
Well, yeah, and then with change is good. Change is hard. At the same time, it's hard. But at the same time, change is good. But it's understanding the changes. It's understanding why are we changing? Why do we need to change? I know you change for growth, but at the same time, you want to make sure that if not everyone, the majority understands where the city is headed and why, and how can we all be a part of it, and not leave for the majority behind. Those that want to change, not leave them behind. And that's kind of what I feel a lot of time. I don't want my community to be left behind. I want them to be a part of the change, but I want them to also be able to handle it. Raise the mentality so that when change happens, you know what? I'm changing with it. I'm able to be a part of it.
Capitalize on what's happening.
Right. Yeah. At the same time on all aspects of it.
It's a strange comparison, I guess, but I've learned that from growing food. It's kind of, it's how some things carry over across different arenas, but like every year is different. The weather you cannot control, right? There's things I can control, how healthy the soil is, the kind of plants I plant, when I water them, what I feed, but there's stuff that's out of my control.
Right.
And at my best, I am observing. I have eyes open, and I'm observing what's happening and able to adapt to maximize the benefit, right? As many tomatoes as I can get out of this season.
Right.
And then also mitigate liability, damage, pest pressure. It's too much water, too much rain. How do I adapt so that I don't lose my crop? Same thing is more macro, is what's happening. Where's this going? Right. There's some of it that you can mitigate, right? You can try to soften, but what's the trajectory, and how do I position myself, my family, my city,
right,
to have the most success with what's happening? And that's very abstract and macro, but
right. And it's opportunity.
Yep.
The community have to have an opportunity to grow along with the changes. Again, I just don't want the community to be left behind. I just don't want them to be overtaken with the change because
Be more specific with what you're saying. What do you mean?
I mean, with the growth. I mean, because we feel like, we're losing a whole culture over Easter. What's going to become of Easter? We're talking about Easter right now. What's going to happen with Easter? Because Easter was such a great part. There's so much heritage over there. And I know you talked about the city buying the Gary building.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have the Taylor property is gone. We have the Cherokee. So what's left now? We have the McHardy's property, but what's left that the community can build off of with this change and have the opportunity to change? Because it's like it's growing. It's like the city is encroaching over there.
I would be really stressed out if Brightline had a station next to my neighborhood.
Yeah. And one comment, I think it was maybe a year or so ago that I heard that from someone that the residents won't be able to live there, but they'll be able to work there. That was heartbreaking to hear
true.
that.
That's not even true.
That wasn't true. Was that they said that? The person said that?
Yeah. That they said that is fine, but you think why would you assume why would anybody assume that the people who live here are going to be able to work here?
Well, if I can't if rent is rent, let's just talk about the rent there.
Yep.
If rent is going from $1,600 to $1,800, where let's just say for those apartments let's just be frank, those apartments on Martin Luther King Boulevard,
right,
that was at one time $500-$600.
What is it now?
When I checked, it was $18. 1 bedroom, 1 bath. That was it. $1,800 for those places. So now,
do you know why? Do you know why?
Why? Because they remodeled it?
No, has nothing to do with those apartments.
Because of what's coming.
No, what happened to the market rate here?
Well, the market went up.
Why did the market rate change for a 1-1?
Because of the demand for it.
Because of what we approved. I'm dead serious. This is not even being like a political talking point. If you approve 2,500 or 3,000 units that are mostly apartments that are brand new, they're brand new apartments, right? You cannot build an apartment in the current climate with what it costs to build and the cost of land and this whole thing. You can't bring a unit into existence physically. I mean, I guess you could say with grants or like government subsidies you could, but just the market. You cannot bring a unit into existence that's going to be cheaper than $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Intelligently knowing that as a commissioner, the smartest thing I can do would be to not approve a bunch of those in my city, because as soon as they come online and they hit the internet and a 1-1 is $2,500 a month, any intelligent landlord now goes, oh, that's how much a 1-1 is. Rent's going up this year. Why would you not? So in the effort to create more supply and more workforce housing, you just made everybody's rent go up in the entire city by approving all of these units. It was so poorly thought out.
But when you say workforce housing, like, do we have the work here for the housing? We don't have it here in Martin County.
The city had, I can't remember the guy's name, but they had a consultant come in, and the consultant's pitch was that the city was like grossly deficient in housing by 5,000 units or whatever it was. And so Merritt and Mike Meyer went on a mission along with the people that support them with like the housing thing. We need more units, but nobody really fully thought out how that's going to look. That maybe the 1-1 that you've been living in for 5 or 10 years, that rent's been cushy. It's been $800 a month or whatever. You've been able to live cheaper than that previously. all of a sudden, like you're saying, it's $1,800 a month.
For one.
That's what you did to them. You changed the market by approving what shouldn't be approved.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
It did the opposite.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's why you got to be really careful. And like you're saying, you got to think about the repercussions of what you're doing,
right?
And not just move on superficial.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not in a vacuum. The economics of supply and demand didn't really work out here because everybody from everywhere wants to be here.
And they're coming.
So it's not workforce that are in those apartments necessarily. And especially with Brightline coming, I can live in Harbor Grove and work in Miami 2-3 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to the $4,000 a month down there, that $2,000 a month is cheap. Mm-hmm. So now you've just also intermixed your market locally with the Miami market by opening up your city to that pipeline of humans. You're going to continue to drive up the market rate for what it costs. Mm-hmm. The smartest thing you can do to keep it affordable is keep it rural.
True. Can we talk about Brightline for a bit? Because this is only my personal opinion and observation.
It's coming.
I had a real issue with the two intersections with the Brightline. The one at it's not Florida Ave, but the intersection before we have the downtown, and we also have the one up closer by Martin Luther King, and the next one.
I'm paying attention, but I'm trying to pull it up.
That intersection there because of the residential.
So you have an issue in the sense that for like safety, right?
For safety issues, yes.
So they do like the double-sided gate thing, but you got trains flying in at 100 miles an hour.
Right. Okay, and that one, God, I can't think of that road, that intersection right now, but it's the one right before Martin Luther King.
Florida? Oh,
Florida.
Right. Yeah.
That for me. That
so
was
sketchy already.
It was the most dangerous.
You're coming up on the hill and turning around. Yeah.
Right. And it's right there in the community.
And now you got a 120 mile an hour train ripping through there. Yeah.
And if you have, I was there one morning and I purposely went there to see the flow. And I sat there and I saw how the dump truck had to wait, even though he had the green light and it was he could not move because he did not have enough room with another car going over at the same time.
Yeah, it's Florida.
And then you have also the traffic because a lot of the residents walk over there to the Wawas or walk over there to catch the bus for US 1, walk over there to go to McDonald's. So you have a lot of pedestrian traffic there.
It's not a popular opinion, but if safety was your primary objective, you should close that intersection there off from A1A. If that's your primary objective, because that is, or you could try to widen it and open that up, but you have single family homes all right there. So you don't even really have room, I don't think, to widen it. I don't know how much you have in terms of like setbacks and everything and right away or whatever.
Well, it became, even when I did the live there, I know my live was taken down, for whatever reason.
What?
Yeah, it was taken down.
There's conspiracies?
Yeah, it was.
What?
It was it was taken down and everything. But I really wanted the city to be
Facebook
aware.
took your video down.
Facebook took it down. So I don't know if it was Brightline or whoever, but it was a real, because it showed, I showed the cars going across. It showed the dumpster being, could not cross. And it was, and it's, to me, it's still.
Do you understand who FEC is?
I when I went and looked, it's like, who you fighting against that giant? But at the same time, you were going to hear my voice because I really felt.
Pick up your rocks.
Yeah. That's because you have to think about the community. You have to think about the safety. And I know Brightline is a $800 billion company, but at the same time.
If you have little kids and you live in one of those houses, could you imagine?
You have people in wheelchairs that has to cross there, So that was a really big issue, and it still is a big concern for me.
I'm sure those gates work great, but what happens if that day they don't work right?
Yeah.
You know, and
But that's
all of a sudden there's a train right there.
And the traffic, the amount of residents, people, customers that are going to be getting off, you know, here. And it's just part of change, but at the same time.
So how are you going to position yourself for the change, right? So you can grow the most tomatoes. What are you going to do?
Personally or for...
I mean, you can't speak for everybody.
But for me, it's to learn and understand, you know, really educate myself and talk, have to sit down and have conversations so I can understand. You know, Steve Cooper, he stays in my mind what he says. He says, Althea, change is coming. Change is coming.
I saw your video. I saw that.
You're going to have to be a part of it or you're going to get left behind, but change is coming. So position yourself for that change. If I have a business, well, which I do, then position myself for the change that is coming. But at the same time, I don't want us to be left behind. I know I'm not responsible for everybody, but at the same time, if I can show you how to start your business, show you the right way, okay, this is, then put
the way you don't get left behind is just what you said. The only, because you can't guarantee employment, right? You can't guarantee that there'll even be businesses, that there'll be jobs available, right? You can't control that.
Right.
Is to be entrepreneurial,
right,
and creative.
Exactly.
And find where you can provide value, be high value for the market that's coming, that exists and is coming.
Right.
You got to create your own job.
That is true.
That's really the way.
That is true. That is so.
Because tomorrow, something Elon Musk or whoever, right, could create AI robots, and like every normal kind of a job disappears except for one you create for yourself. I know that's really hypothetical and unlikely, but
that is true.
You want to be able to control your destiny and not have anybody be able to fire you for whatever reason. And the only way to do that is be paying attention and like take advantage of that opportunity, entrepreneurial, right?
And not be afraid of what's in you, like you said.
So what's coming, right? What's coming? You have, when that station goes in, Stewart is going to be opened up to Florida kind of at large. It's an artery, right? There's going to be blood coming in from all different parts of Florida. Yeah. So there's going to be all kinds of different people here. It's not just going to be our community anymore.
Right.
It's going to be tapped into a larger body, right? It's not just a little organ here that is a city. And there's benefit to that and there's risk. The risk is you completely get not your community, our community and the people we know and what we're used to washed out. That's a liability. The opportunity is people that can afford to come here and live here and have, they don't want to live in Miami anymore. They're tired of living, they're going to hook it up to Tampa. Yeah. They're going to hook it up. It's in Orlando. People that are tired of living in apartments, that want to be somewhere that's 4 stories and under and can afford to be here are going to be coming here to live. And with remote working, you can go down to Miami or gets hooked up to Jacksonville. They can go pop into the city 2 or 3 days a week max. They can hop on Brightline and go get work done, do their meetings and then come back here. Right. So now if I'm posturing myself,
that's a lot. And that's more reason that we have to. I think that just thinking about my culture, even the churches really have to begin to educate the parishioners, the people about what's coming. We can no longer think in this box because we have to be prepared or we will be washed away, or we will be that blood that leaks,
Any dirt that is close to that station is going to become 2 or 3 or 4 times as valuable. That's why I said I would be incredibly nervous if that was next to my neighborhood. Any property that could be perceived as or has a higher likelihood of being rezoned, even if it's a single family home right now or parcel, there's going to be a lot of pressure for that to become mixed use, commercial, right? So that's a serious concern too, is making sure everybody's on the same page that we're not going to sell. If we're going to keep
Not only not sell, but how can I maintain, and how can I...
So your property taxes are going to be going up.
Right.
So that's a serious concern. Wow. But if you can be entrepreneurial and try to figure out how to make the most out of who's coming, service, right? So generally this is a service-oriented area. True. A lot of the people who come here and move here can afford to. We don't have much in the way of industry. There's no Silicon Valley of developers or Google or Facebook that's, in Hobe Sound. Who comes here historically has been the people who have live here, and then people retiring here. And with COVID, you had a whole flush
of people.
Of people from, a million people from California have moved here. A ton of people from New York that can afford to. And they were doing kind of the work remote thing, right? But that's so service. And that's going to continue with people coming into Stewart from Brightline and popping in for the day and going, oh, I like this. True. Let me see if I can find a little house over here that I could buy.
Does the city have a cap of
of the number of people?
Well, not the number of people, but the growth, how big the community will become.
Growth in terms of what?
Of term of businesses, in terms of homes, apartments.
So
just growth, period.
So growth, there's layers to it. Growth in some ways is limited by the land use and zoning.
Okay.
Right. So there's only so many commercial parcels. There's only so many multifamily, like apartment, only so many single family home. There's some that are vacant of various types. That's your sort of limit, unless we change the rules and make it now a new type of land use.
But do we need any more apartments?
No.
We need more job opportunities.
Yes. And homes.
And single family
something
homes.
You can own. From a community standpoint, you need people to be able to own dirt here and have somewhere to work, so they're not having to go down south for work. And this is something I was going to tell you. I think we talked about this before I flipped the camera on. But Harbor Grove, those ones on Indian, I never fully finished the point I was going to make, and I just remembered.
Okay.
That dirt that was commercial property is not owned, those apartments are on, is not owned by anybody here. It's owned by a group in Colorado. So in the rush to be able to get more apartments, the other thing we did was allow this group, what was owned by somebody locally, that commercial property, because we allowed the land use change to apartments, a group that builds apartments to generate revenue, bought that land, owns that land out of Colorado, and manages those apartments. Meaning nobody from this area will ever own that dirt again.
They're having a hard time hearing you. If you can raise your voice, I don't know how they can hear me, but not
Start
you.
to scream. Because yours is there.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But nobody will ever own that dirt again from here. And so think about playing that out long term, is if you keep allowing these parcels to be these assets in a portfolio, right? Right now, that group out of Colorado, I'm not going to say names. I don't want to get sued. Right. But they own that. At some point, their kids may decide to sell it. And it's going to get sucked up into some wealth management firm or some hedge fund. And it's going to be an asset in BlackRock's portfolio. An international company could buy that dirt. And basically, parcel by parcel, the people who live here won't actually own the dirt of here. So you have to be very careful from a community standpoint, and you want to have it be decentralized. And homes are the best version of this, right? Where you have the mortgage and the grass. You have your own green space, not some little park where we all live in a box and we can go use the dog park. But that's how, when it's decentralized like that, nobody can come in and buy a giant East Stewart parcel and turn it into a new That's what protects your community is each person. They would have to get everybody on the same page to sell.
Right.
That's what hedges your community. And so the more of those blocks, like if you look in a neighborhood that are vacant,
right,
or owned by one family,
families, okay,
that's where you have risk. You want each of those blocks to be broken up and owned by different families in your community. As soon as you're able to start piecemealing together blocks, now somebody can come in and buy all of those and build a Costco.
Gotcha.
That's how you lose your community. It's chess. It's something. This was cool. It was like that.
Yes, mm-hmm.
It was like that first day I got in there and I'm sitting down with Dave Dias, and Mortel. And it was I never realized this, but it's all perspective. You and me are normal people, right? I guess now I'm more on the inside.
Right.
But you and me are normal people. So we think horizontally, right? Front doors of businesses, facades. You live in this house. You think more like this way. The people who plan and are organizing your playground for you of how you live and work do above down. And what I mean by that is that first day I'm meeting with them, on the table, there's a glass table like this, and it's a big map. And every parcel from this view.
I saw that map.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And now they're looking at it like this, and if we do this with that, and this is going to be over here, and they're going to buy they're doing this kind of a thing.
So emotions are not even on the table.
It's dollars. There's not even necessarily humans. It's parcels. It's monopoly. If they sell that, and then this goes with there, and then they can set that up and piece it together, and then they'll have enough acreage to do this. It's like that. So you, me, us, need to think like that. Because especially with Brightline, getting ready to get plugged into your community, if it's happening to you, you're going to be a victim of it. And so you want to make sure you're hedging. If you know that's coming, securing, batten down the hatches. If you don't want to lose those parcels, whoever owns those, we all need to be talking to each other and
making sure.
Hedging, not to get too wartime, art of war, but like that's when it comes to money, right? Like it's easy to lose track of this. This is how people make a living. I've said this before, but in the commission, the reason you'll see me wearing a suit and a tie and a jacket in part more recently is because when these land use attorneys come in that are getting paid $300 an hour, right? All those, you got 10 suits there, nice suits.
Very nice suits.
Nice suits. For them, it's business. For me, there's no money in it either way for me. I'm thinking about quality of life, traffic, like what's this place going to be like in 10 years, 20 years for my kids? Like it's all that kind of stuff. For them, it's business. My client, the applicant, has hired me to be here to represent their interests. Okay? That commission is supposed to be your lawyers, your land use attorney. It should be suits versus suits. Your advocate, your voice, the people who are hired to work for you to confront and deal with that and come to the best solution are those 5 people. And if we're up there in a polo shirt, I remember there was one day I'm looking around, like I won't say the names, but the firm that's there is high power, big money. And I'm looking down the line and I'm like, we're about to get eaten up for lunch. We're about to get torn up.
So, Chris, how important is it for the community then to come to those meetings and actually hear and know what's going on?
I know what you're trying to do, but nobody does. You're right. But they've done their part. The people who live here have done their part. And that is they've hired me to do it.
But how connected are you to the community that you represent.
Call me, text me, email me. I get emails and calls from people constantly. I am available. I may not be at the 5K run because I got kids and I work. I'm not independently wealthy, but you will have my ear if you call me. I will listen to you. I'm available. But the community has done their part in electing who they elect to represent them.
So when you say the community has done their part, that means when the community votes, when a person votes, then you are hiring that person. I'm just breaking it down.
It's real.
Hiring that person to represent you.
Yes, that is your lawyer. That's the way you should look at it, because that's who's going to be confronting that developer. And what has happened more recently is we associate, we call it slow growth or no growth people, with just the people that'll ask questions, that'll confront them.
Right.
That want to make sure that this makes sense, and maybe we need to scale that back a little bit. I know that's more profitable for you, but I don't think you're really looking at the traffic implications of that, and how those people are considered antagonistic to development. Those are anti-growth people. And then whatever the other side is of that in terms of commissioners, those are people who just basically advocate for it. They set up, alley-oops and softballs for people. Like, I've seen it time and time again where the traffic person comes up and the commissioner's saying, it's like a leading question, like, as far as I can tell, this isn't going to be an issue with traffic, right? This looks pretty good in what you've got. Stuff like that. Where you want that group advocating for you. Those are your people. That is your big kahunas, man. I think like Hawaii, you got the OGs, the guys that are like that are supposed to be really defending who lives here. And if you don't have those people up there, you need to run people who will be that. Having people up there just saying yes is what sells your community out. All of them, not just one neighborhood. You need people up there asking questions. And if they're up there just getting intertwined politically and leveraging that, and maybe they're at all the events, but when it comes time for the show, they're not doing it. It's yes. You need people that are going to really fight.
Boy, I tell you, I do like what I do, but there's a lot of work involved in this,
When are you going to run?
Run for what? My mouth will be closing. I won't be. I have to have the freedom to speak my mind.
Why can't you speak your mind?
I have to have the freedom.
Nobody can stop me.
I see nobody.
I don't have 3 minutes. I can talk as long as I want. And I can say whatever I want. The only person who can remove me is the governor. That's it. And the people who live here, if they're tired of me. Yeah. Nobody can stop me. Nobody's going to tell you to stop talking. Yeah. They tried to throw me out of a meeting. Remember
they
that?
did? Yeah. I missed that meeting, did.
Becky threatened to have the police take me out because I was arguing with them.
What?
I said, you can't take me out of here. Well, okay. They may want you to shut up, but your job is to be the difficult voice. Be the guy who's out working. They can't be at the meeting because he's doing somebody's electrical or laying tile or whatever, man. You're the one who's there for him. You should have, what do we got, 20,000, 25,000 people living here now? That's who you're there asking questions for. If you just let it breeze by.
Yeah. Wow.
Way to go. Yeah, you should run.
I don't think
you're there a lot. I mean, you like being there. You like being in the mix.
Not that I like being there, but it's like I have to be there sometimes,
For
just
sure.
to let the community know, listen, this is getting ready to take place. You're going to have to wake up. You're going to have to understand the changes are going to happen. You can't wait till it happens then say, oh, what they did. I can't stand what they did to us and why they doing this. I cannot stand that.
But that's why it's good to be in that seat. If you'll fight for it, is you're on the inside, so you get to influence even before it gets to that meeting what's coming.
Yeah, my background is not all perfect, so I'm not going to run for that.
Your background?
Yeah, it's not perfect. So I'm good. I'm good on this side.
You can't have a record at all?
Can't have a record at all.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, but I'm good on this side. I'm good on this side.
Well, whatever you're supposed to be doing, you'll do.
My son say, Mom, you're not, I don't want to say that, but Mom, you can't be afraid. You cannot be afraid.
Well, then you just said it for yourself.
Yeah, you cannot be afraid. And I'm not. I don't have any
What?
any stuff to lose, you know. I've lost a lot already, but it's, you know, that stuff you can get back. So at the same time, I'm not afraid to go against.
There you go.
You know,
that's a little bit closer to it.
Yeah.
So you're not afraid.
I'm not afraid.
So
I'm not afraid because I see it. I've saw it. You know, I've experienced it with my own eyes, and the reason I don't want others to experience that, to know that you got to be at the table.
Yes.
You got to be at the table. You know, you got to understand what's happening. You cannot be afraid. And as a culture, we stand on a lot of shoulders. You know, we cannot be afraid. We just want good for everybody, not just for some people, but for everybody. You know, it's a lot of work involved. I mean, you have a business, and plus you're concerned about the community. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of.
But if you don't do it,
going on your knees and praying. You know, being guided, being spiritually guided.
Mm-hmm.
You know, standing up. You know, being a Christian is not just being in church. I'm finding you have so much work outside of those four walls. This is where the work is. This is where the people is.
Church is great, right?
Yeah.
But you had, even biblically, right?
Mm-hmm.
They went out.
They went out. They went out. Jesus was among them. They went out.
And even after he died,
still,
he sent them out to go.
Sent them out.
Go do good.
Go do good.
Yeah.
Go do good.
That's how I see it, right? Like I want. That's why prayer was a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see, not like the city government become Christian, but I wanted, at least with prayer, for us to be submitted to something higher than our own. Like if we're God, because that's not good.
We have to understand that we're not.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So something about invocation,
Mm-hmm.
when you're asking God, even I guess technically if you didn't believe in God,
Mm-hmm.
you could make it, you're invoking ideals
Mm-hmm.
like honor, what is just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you get in your head, right? And if you come into that, everybody comes into the meeting with their own
Mm-hmm.
ideas. When you stop and you invoke God and you invoke wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, like you're submitted to higher ideals. Even for me, it's a person, it's my father, it's
Mm-hmm.
a creator.
Right.
But even if you didn't want to make it that because you don't like that, higher ideals, something more than just us being God.
Right.
You know, that's important.
That's very important.
Because otherwise, it's agendas, it's
Mm-hmm.
fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've paid attention to this in the meetings where we didn't pray. Were the most contentious meetings, and a lot of it was me arguing. But they were some of our most contentious meetings, you know. But when we all, as a group,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Okay.
and that's important. You want that in your city.
Okay.
And you know why we stopped praying? Did you ever dig into that?
No.
Because with that whole thing, I learned a little bit of history from what's his name, Evans Crary.
Mm-hmm.
We quit praying 60 years ago because basically like white and black pastors couldn't agree who was going to pray.
Oh wow.
It's like that. We stopped praying because of nonsense. Well, then we're just not going to do it. Fine.
And here we are.
And here we are. And for
Wow.
60 years, right? The
60
county's
years.
been praying forever. The school board prays before their meetings. Everybody invokes wisdom in God and tradition and what's honorable.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to have a strong community and strong families. Like those. Tell me what's wrong with love your neighbor, turn the other cheek.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
you may have it out for the Bible and not
Mhm.
like it as an overarching.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like the Judeo-Christian thing or what, but like show me what's a liability
Right.
in us all submitting to those kind of ideas, you know.
Exactly.
So,
Humbling ourselves.
right, that's all it is.
Just humbling ourselves.
Right, just for a minute,
Wow.
I'm gonna bow my head,
And pray.
and I'm not the king, you know.
Right. I won't let the king lead me.
Right, right, in the city.
In the city. So,
Mm-hmm.
My take from this is the community to get more involved.
How?
By showing up to the meeting, understanding what's going on in your community.
But we never do unless we're angry.
That's another.
I never showed up till they were messing with me in my
true
street.
But the thing is, I think that the city, what I found is that we come and I call it noise. We make a lot of noise, and you all will listen to the noise. Let it be heard, and then go back to the same thing. Nothing is ever because nothing ever goes past the noise.
Well, okay, I will say, now that I'm involved, I kind of I'm learning how it works. The commission, think of them like judges. Okay, it's easy to get kind of confused about what government is. Right? The government is not your dad.
Right.
The government is not there to solve problems for you. The government is there to not come up with creative solutions to make any community or neighborhood better. It functions basically to provide essential services, make sure there's no poop in your toilet, that it goes to the water management to make sure the trash gets picked up. And in the case of like the commission, you have 5 people that can change the rules if your particular project that you're proposing is of greater benefit. That's it. So if you want to see something changed, if you want to see the rules changed, if you want to see something happen, noise, and I'm not saying this particularly to you or anybody, like how I am, I'm a chiropractor. Like, how does it work? Technically, what is it actually doing functionally? Not what do I want things to be, like how does it work really? So I can use it and fix it. The way it works for real is you need to bring a solution. You need to bring something to be judged. And it might be changed and altered somewhat, but if you bring what the change that you want packaged for consideration, if you take the time to put together something that can be reviewed and amended, it will be implemented. Or not. It could be voted no on. But if you just come with frustration, it's just going to be like an airing of grievances.
Right.
And everybody will sit there and endure everybody's frustration. That's your First Amendment right. Come vent. Cool.
Okay.
But if you really want to see something get fixed, it requires a couple of steps. One, we all got to talk about what needs to get fixed and be in somewhat of an agreement so we can draft language for how to change that and have it be a resolution and ordinance that comes in front of the commission for approval. It's that easy, but we never do it. We never do it.
So come with a solution.
We get frustrated, and I need to come tell Dad why I'm upset. But nobody up there can do anything with upset. We might like him and haw over some solutions, but because there's nothing to even consider that we've reviewed, it's really hard for 5 people to get on the same page about something, so nothing ever happens.
All right. Well,
that's
like that.
why.
Okay.
So if you've got like a particular neighborhood, like I have encouraged when there's a project that's coming forward and neighbors are not happy with what's proposed, hire, just like the guy or gal who's proposing this new development, hire a consultant. Not even necessarily an attorney, but there are other like smaller scale developers or consultants who understand how what I'm saying works, and they will help you draft language for something to propose, alternatives to what's in the agenda, and they will represent you at the mic and your interests.
Okay.
Things like this, like know how the system works and then interface with it in a productive way. If you want to change something for real. If you want to vent, that's fine. I get upset too. Like I vent, But if you really want to fix something.
But the community has to know what they want in order to.
And you get somebody that can represent you. And maybe it's somebody from within the community that just understands how it works. Right. Maybe you bring somebody in that's, plugged in and they've done this before. Okay. But you got to know what you want. If you don't know what you want, you can't get anything.
You can't get anything.
You receive not because you ask not. Okay, so if you don't know what to ask for, you know.
Well, this has been very productive. This has been a great conversation.
Cool.
I love it.
You done?
I'm done. I've learned so much today.
It's good talking to you.
On and off the camera. Learned so much. I appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to where you go with our media too, you know. I'm excited to watch you, you know, from Facebook anyway. And see you when I see you. But I'm optimistic for what you're doing.
I'm a pivot.
Yeah.
I have to. I have to. There's so much more to learn, but there's so much more to cover in our community. You know, like I said, I don't want the community to be left behind.
And too, no shame.
But information
no shame in the entrepreneurial hustle, right? So if you build a little media empire, you can start hiring people to do different things, and you know, that entrepreneurial spirit is what historically in East Stewart, right?
Right. True.
You need to have that, so you're able to employ people and take care of people and yourself, you know. But
definitely gotta take care of myself.
Yeah.
Definitely gotta take care of that.
All right. Any last thoughts that you want to share?
No. I will become more involved now. I'm all the more so really to, as much as I can, uplift the community and educate the community to what's coming.
Don't feel powerless no matter what neighborhood you live in.
Right.
I will say that. You just have to learn a little bit how it works.
That's it. Taking the time to learn. Because
understand what's going on and how this works.
Yes.
And run for a seat. Don't run for a seat. Be there. Be paying attention. Be talking to people. Get in the mix. And you totally can change. Like, I'm one person, but I've made a lot of change even in the time I've been there. I've had a huge impact that I can see internally. And I'm just one guy.
Are you going to run again?
I don't know. It depends on the state of the city. So I'm all for, like, if things are good to go, I'll take a break. I'll take a few years off. And if it gets messy again, I will be, I'll be right there. Don't mess around. Okay. I want it to be kind of like that. I think it's a healthy, I will unseat you. I will do everything in my power to get your butt out of that seat. If you're not going to represent who lives here. Healthy fear. Because that's not present, you know. Right. And right now, if you're paying attention, there are incumbents that are nervous. Because they have their constituency that they work for, but it's not the people necessarily as a whole that live here in their quality of life. And there's people running against them. And they're coming for them. It's war. It's different now. It's not just the political class like it used to be. If you don't do what you're supposed to be doing, I'm coming for you, or I'm going to help somebody that will.
So do you find that the younger generation are coming? More young?
It's a younger man's game because I have to knock on 3,000 doors, and I will knock on your door and I will talk to you. And when that guy shows up and you feel his heart, you're going to check his box.
Okay.
And the guy that he's at the events with the important people, he didn't knock on my door.
Right, he only came around. He's only at the churches because I got you.
Know,
I
everybody knows who's who.
Yeah.
So it does favor a younger man's game because that's a guy that can walk in August and knock on doors.
Okay. All right.
You know.
Thank you for the nuggets.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. You already know I love you, and go out and have a great day.